Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Well, hey, everybody. Getting ready for episode 280 of Mike in the Midwest. Let's do this. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 280 of Mike in the Midwest, our mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Of course, my name is Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast, which you can find at beourguestpodcast.com or anywhere you find your favorite podcast. That could be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere. They're ever. We're tuned in. We're on all the podcast platforms. So wherever you find a podcast, we are there. And we you probably know that you're a patron. We appreciate you listening to the show. And more importantly, we appreciate you leaving a rating and a review wherever you listen to the show. That means a lot to us. If you haven't done that in a while, please do that. But thanks for being here. Hope you're doing well here on February 7th. It's a Saturday morning as I'm recording this show. Hope you're doing well. Back from Disneyland and glad to be here in the studios with the Mike in the Midwest show. And if the Olympics have kicked off, that's going to be kind of the topic of today's show tangentially, but just letting you know what's going on here in the Be Our Guest podcast studios. I'm going to try to keep this show a little bit tighter because that was always the point of Mike in the Midwest. It's supposed to be a mini podcast, like a 20-minute quick little show, because you get all the other podcasts in the feed. It's a lot. Most podcasts are one a week. We do 3 or 4, usually 4 shows a week. It's been 3 because of my travel. And I always try to give you the back. You guys kind of get what's going on with the show here on Mike in the Midwest, and I'll fill you in. But, you know, it's a lot of content. So I'm going to try to keep this one a little bit tighter. But what's going on around here? Back from Disneyland. Had a great trip, man. It was outstanding. I will tell you that this coming Friday, you will get my trip report. It's one more, and I don't like doing these solo shows. I know some people said they've enjoyed them. I think it's more enjoyable when I talk with Scott or Ricky or Pam or all 3 of us, or, you know, a combination of the crew. But Pam was down at Walt Disney World running an AEP, an agent education program with a bunch of folks from the travel agency. So she was unavailable. Actually, I was going to record with her because for once in her life, she decided she's going to be down there so long. Her and Steve decided to drive from Pittsburgh down to Orlando to take a road trip. But they didn't want to drive it all in one swoop like I used to do all the time. They decided to stop in Hilton Head. And so she stopped there I think they were going to stay there for like 3 nights. So that was awesome. So she took her whole setup. I was like, take your setup. We'll podcast, you know, from Florida while you're there, you know, do a couple shows while you're in Florida because you're going to be there for a long time. I was like, while you're in Hilton Head, let's do a show while you're there. That'd be sweet because you're going to be there on a Monday. She's like, yes. But as you recall, there was like a historic ice storm that went through the Carolinas, and she had electricity at Hilton Head, but it knocked out the internet at the time we were getting ready to record. I'm like, come on now. So we're getting ready to set up. She's like, no internet at Hilton Head. I'm like, oh, I wanted to record from Hilton Head. We've recorded from Walt Disney World with Pam many times. I thought, how cool would it be to record with her from Hilton Head? But it just did not happen. So Pam is still good. She's still with us, but she is just living her best travel agency owner life and inspiring all of our agents down at Walt Disney World. So, and training everybody. So that's where she is. Ricky is she's at Walt Disney World right now as we speak. So you haven't heard her, but Scott and I have been doing a lot of shows. I'll tell you behind the scenes. We recorded 2 shows last night because what I'm doing, you've probably heard I'm having a surgery on the 17th. So I don't want to, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but I just never want to miss a podcast. We have not missed any podcasts since we started the show back in 2008. I know it'll probably happen at some point, but I feel I owe it to you guys all the time to give you the best show I can. And I know they're not perfect shows, but I always try to give my best effort with the shows and to be consistently give you a show on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now, Sundays, I give myself grace because a lot of stuff happens. Super Bowls come up. People aren't going to call in on a Sunday night with the Super Bowl happening. I'm realistic. People go to Super Bowl parties. If I have to travel on a weekend because of a sporting event, I give myself grace for that. Like Mallory's got a cheer comp this coming weekend. Like that stuff happens. But Monday, Wednesday, Friday shows, that's our bread and butter. And we're going to give you a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday show because that's what we've done since 2008. And so with this procedure that I'm having, I've been told, and again, I'm a little nervous about it because I'm very much a active person. I do like 20 miles a day between running and walking on the treadmill at least every day because I'm insane. And they're telling me like it's going to be 8 weeks till you can run again, and you're not going to be moving for at least a few weeks really well. And the studio to record everything is in the basement. So I got to go downstairs and stuff like that to get in here. And so what I've been doing is, and God bless Scott and Ricky and everybody who's going to be helping me with this, we've been recording ahead quite a bit. And some of our listeners have been very flexible with their trip reports. So we should be covered out for a couple of weeks at least. And they're pretty evergreen shows. So you should not notice if you're listening on the feed. You should get some good content. I'm hoping you enjoy the shows so that you should not notice if you're listening on the feed, and the regular listeners who are not hearing any of these Patreon shows might not even notice unless we kind of slip up every once in a while, like what day it is. And like, because we're recording them out of order sometimes, but you're going to hear some of these because like I said, I recorded a solo trip report that's going to come out this Friday. And I think I recorded that out of sequence, but you're going to hear all about my runs and about the great snack. Cause I ate all counter service except for one table service meal at Blue Bayou. You'll hear about staying at the Hojo and some of the merchandise. I saw Paint the Night for the first time. Oh my gosh, I fell in love with Paint the Night. It's so good. And then Scott and I talked about that for the next Friday show, which we've already recorded. We recorded that last night. So now the Mike in the Midwest shows, I'm going to try to do those. I'm going to try. Obviously I'll do one next week. Please don't like unsubscribe to the Patreon if I don't do a show or two for a week, because I can't schedule those to go out like I can schedule the normal podcast because it's on a different platform. I have to record these and put these out immediately. That's why when I record them, they go out immediately onto the feed. There's no way to like schedule these like I can the regular podcast feed. So I'm going to get down here as soon as possible, as soon as I can go down the steps to record another Mike in the Midwest. Maybe I can record something on my phone, but please hang in there with us and understand that I'll be right back as soon as I can, because I do need your Patreon support. I appreciate it so much. And I've put my focus on so that you guys get the big show, which I think is I think your support goes to the Be Our Guest podcast, not Mike in the Midwest. This is just a little bonus, but I hope you appreciate all the other shows that we do. And we'll have the Sunday night call-in shows bouncing back as soon as I can get my rear end sitting back in this chair. Because again, it's like from what I've been told, it's a core thing, because they're working on my core and being able to sit like in a chair and be able to. They're telling me I got to learn how to really focus on the core and breathing deeply again and all that kind of stuff. So that sounds a lot of fun. So we'll see, but I'll bounce back quickly, hopefully, or else I'll be a big crab. So anyway, that's where I am. That's what's going on around here. We're recording ahead and getting into it. So that's what's going on. A lot of fun. Next Sunday, so next weekend, Mallory's last cheer competition happens. So I'm excited for that. Kind of sad at the same time. I mean, when you think about it, right? It's like the old Boys to Men song. We've come to the end of the road. How many times have we chased around the Midwest, our family, for Mallory's cheer comps? We've gone to Jam Fest a bunch of times, which is a big cheer comp in Indianapolis. We've gone to Summit many times down at Walt Disney World, Wide World of Sports. There's a competition going on down there this weekend. It's not Summit, it's NCA. It's another competition. We've gone to the Dells in Wisconsin many times. We've gone all Kansas City. We've gone all over the Midwest for all these comps, but this is it. This is the last one, and it's not a major one. We've already won state, and they had the ring ceremony the other night. It was a big deal. It was crazy. It was so cool. But there's one smaller competition. It's called Game Day, and then that's kind of wrap. And it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet. But I'm going to enjoy the heck out of it. It's actually at Drury College in Springfield, Missouri. It's about 4 hours from us, and it's the college where Bob Barker graduated. So I'm always excited about that. We've been there every year, but I always find the street sign. There's Bob Barker Boulevard. And I always have to get my picture by Bob Barker Boulevard because I love Bob Barker. I don't know, like when I watch the old Bob Barker Price is Right channel on Pluto TV, I just think he did it right. He was always so polite with the guests. He had a great sense of humor, and he was a champion for dogs. And I'm a dog person. And he was proud to be like a Missouri guy. He was also like a proud to be a Native American. I don't know if you knew that, but he grew up in the Sioux Nation on a Sioux Indian reservation. And he always brought that up on the show. He was very proud of his heritage. And I like that when people are proud of their heritage and you can tell because they bring it up all the time. I like that. Like, don't be ashamed of where you're from. Like that means a lot to me. And I like that. He was very proud of, he was, obviously he lived in California for years and years because that's where the show was from, but he never shied away from his roots. And I like that about the guy. I think and he lived to be 99. That'd be a nice number to live to. So what else is going on? Let's hit the feedback from last week's show because this was going to be a shorter show. We talked about snowy stories about the time I was crazy enough to go up after a big snow up to the skating rink and decide to take my grandpa's little bitty John Deere snowblower, in the 90s and try to blow off the whole big parking lot so we could be open. That was nuts. Trisha says, snow days. We had very few of those growing up, maybe 3 total. I remember watching the morning news and waiting for the alphabetical closures to move across the bottom of the screen. Watching for your school to close was the kid version of watching the stock market. Absolutely. It was crazy. You were amped up. Like, please let me see North County Christian School. Please. I also remember being given a student planner at the start of every school year. I was meticulous at writing down my assignments. Now I get a shoulder shrug from my kid and have no clue what homework she has. I wish we had a phone line to call. I'd be checking it daily. Yes. Okay. I forgot. I told the story about my homework hotline. Yes. You called. I still remember the phone number. You called it was 831-4578 was the number, like, to the school. That was like the secondary number. Maybe it was, I can't remember, but that was our phone number you called. It was 831-4578. And to get to my homework hotline, it was 1135 because that was my room number, and 1135 took you into my homework hotline. And so I did Pam's too, because her room number was 1137. And so I always recorded hers too for her because I was nice and trying to catch her. So yeah, I'd record, this is Ms. Bullington's homework hotline for Friday, February 6th, 2026. In math, page 56, numbers 2 through 26, just the even problems. And that's your homework. Get to work. And don't forget to bring canned good for the student council food drive. Thank you. It was so fun. I loved it. I got to pretend like I was a DJ on the homework hotline every night. It was fun. But then every once in a while, I'd forget to record the homework hotline and I'd have to do it I do it from like like at home or something. I get home like, oh my gosh, I forgot to record the homework hotline. And the parents would freak out. It was a thing. Like, it was, dude, your kids are supposed to write it down. There's supposed to be a backup system, but the parents would freak if I didn't record it. And, every once in a while I would, because I'd just bug out, I had a headache or something. I just, you'd forget sometimes, but it was fun. I was always on the technology edge, and that's how old I am. Voicemail basically was the technology. It was a voicemail where you couldn't leave a message is what it was. It was like a big greeting. That was the edge of technology back when I used to teach. I know I'm a dinosaur. Exactly. All right. Paul says, Mike, thanks for another great chat. Love me some Mike in the Midwest. You saying I'm not running 14 miles the day I leave for Disneyland. So 13 then. Also, remember in Cali, no jerk chicken. I didn't have jerk chicken. I did have the spicy chicken breast on a beignet that had coleslaw on the top, served with the side of white rice. Oh, so good. Tiana's Palace, if you're looking for it. Awesome. Really enjoyed the discussion about being a kid waiting for school closings. Up here for me, it was also on 1 a.m. station. Got up, popped cereal and milk in a bowl, and anxiously wait for 8 minutes past the hour to find out my fate for the snow day. Delayed opening, yuck. Closed, it felt like winning the college football playoffs. A true day to enjoy. Always felt bad for the kids. It was a thing up here who were open, but with no transportation. What kind of sheer terror is that? You kids have school, but you have to find your own dangerous way to get there. Terrible, but oh well. I'm going back to bed, watching some game shows, and then going to play football with my friends in the snow. LOL. That is so true. The worst would be if around here it was always the phrase they would always use here was open, but on a snow schedule. They'd always say that. Like, I don't know what that meant because my school was never on a snow schedule. It was either open or closed, but it opened, but on a snow schedule. And I think that meant it opened at like 10 or something. And who cares? Like, I mean, if you're going to open at 10, like just call it a day. I mean, what's the point? Yeah. And I mean, like I said, we didn't have buses. I went to a private Christian school that was just run by a Nazarene church. And I mean, we had to get a ride to school every day, so it was either open or closed. It was a super small school. There was, and my 4th grade class, for example, was in a trailer. We didn't have enough classrooms. I mean, it was real small. And so our classroom in 4th grade, I just remember, and like they could still hit us, by the way, when I was in 4th grade. And the 4th grade teacher, Mrs. Graves, okay, I'm not kidding. That was her name. Mrs. Graves was friends with my grandma. They were in the same Sunday school class in our church. She didn't go to the Nazarene church. She went to our church. And so anything I did wrong during the week, Mrs. Graves would tell my grandma at church on Sunday. And I've told you many times on here, every Sunday after church, we go to my grandparents' house for lunch. Right after church, we go to my grandma and grandpa's house for lunch after church. And dude, I got in trouble every time because Mrs. Graves would tell my grandma at church, and then my grandma at lunch would tell my parents whatever all the bad stuff I did all week. Mrs. Graves would spill the tea, and then I'd be in trouble on Sunday afternoon. It was not good, and I didn't do bad stuff, but I would talk. Can you imagine? I always my report card was always gets good grades. I always got A's. Gets good grades, but he bothers other people, talks to everybody. It's what I do because I got my work done. I'm competitive. I always got my work done super fast. And I'd turn around and talk to anybody that would listen. That was my story. You guys are probably the same, right? I mean, you got to keep, it's just how it was. I'm still that way. I like to get my work done. I like to talk to people. I mean, it's 52 years later, same story, but that's just how it is. I guess that's why I work from home. Dennis says, hey, Mike, congratulations on another successful dopey weekend and good luck in Disneyland. I hope you and the family stayed warm during Winter Storm Fern. Thanks. We did. And it was fun. I was a student in the Rockwood School District growing up, so I know the agony of having to sit through the announcement of countless other schools before we found out if we had a snow day or not. Our killer hill was at Bluebird Park in Ellisville. Really only get there if you could really only get there if your parents drove you, but there was a long hill that you could really get some speed on. Yes. And Dennis probably listened to KMOX, the Mighty Mox, to listen to snow closings as well. I can't remember what year it was or exactly how old I was, but one of my favorite snow day memories was when we got something like 12 to 20 inches of snow. My brother's friends and I shoveled all the snow off the deck at my parents' house into a giant mound below. Then we took snow shovels and gardening tools and dug tunnels through it and turned it into a snow fort. Looking back on it now, it really wasn't a safe idea. It was a ton of snow, and if it collapsed on us, someone could have froze before we dug them out. Taking questionable or dumb risks was what being a kid in the 80s was all about, though. That's exactly right. It would have been as much fun if it wasn't dangerous. That's what made us the people we are today, Dennis. Exactly. I love those stories. Thanks, Dennis. Thank you, Trisha, and thank you, Paul, for the great comments. If you have any comments for next week on this topic, you have any more snow stories, because who knows, we'll probably get some more snow, or any topic, please, 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 it makes our show better. Come by patreon.com/BRGuestPodcast, leave your comments, and be a part of next week's show. All right, today's quick topic. The Olympics are starting. We've already got the story. When I saw this one, I was like, this is what we got to talk about, because it's going to go along with something I experienced that I wanted to share. It's kind of a hard share, though, because I don't know how to approach it, but I wanted to bring it to the table with you guys. And the Lindsey Vonn story is just so intriguing to me because it's Saturday and I can't wait till tomorrow morning. The women's downhill starts at 4:30 in the morning, St. Louis time. And I get up at 4:30 in the morning every day. That's when my alarm goes off and I get on the treadmill every morning. That's the time I get up to do that. And then I start my day. So I'm going to have that on in the treadmill and watch. I don't know if she runs at 4:30, but that's when the event starts. I looked it up. So if you're not following, Lindsey Vonn in her 40s, trying to make some crazy comeback. one knee is already like rebuilt, right? She's already had terrible knee injury on the one knee. Well, she blows out her ACL, which is the ligaments that keep your knee stable, blows it out like last week or something. And basically you think like her Olympic dream's over. Well, she decides I'm just going to put a brace on it and I'm going to go down the hill. I'm just going to give it one last shot, even with no ACL. Not like it's kind of ruptured, kind of torn, like it's gone. Like, I mean, from all accounts, like her ACL is gone. And she's not 20, she's not 25, she's not 30. She's in her 40s. Like she's beyond like the prime of her career. But she's a competitor. She's been to the top. Like she's driven. And I think she just wants to give it that one last ride. And we're talking about this in the Discords for a bit. And I don't know, like I've never been an elite athlete like Lindsey Vonn, but I've been an athlete. And I think I kind of know like what she's thinking. And I think the thing that athletes have in common, and again, I'm not saying that I'm an elite athlete on her level at all, but my brain works that way because when I used to speed skate, and I was at a pretty high level with inline speed skating at one point, like in the 90s, you you can't leave a what if out there. That was always my thing. You can never leave a what if out there, even if something could go terribly wrong. It's worse to leave a what if out there. And I mean, everything says she should not do this. Everything says she should not do this probably. Like I don't even know if I can watch it. But I mean, she's gone down twice in the practice runs and she's been successful. But she's going to go balls out on that on the real run. And who knows what happens. I've already said a prayer for her. I hope she makes it to the bottom of the hill. I don't know if she's going to win, but I just hope she makes it down safely so she never has the what if. But I think that's so gutsy. I think I'm so proud of her. Because like I look at myself like I'm an aging athlete. I used to be good at baseball when I was in high school. Like I played varsity when I was younger, and like I got to be decent at speed skating. I've played sports and I got to be decent at some different sports. But you realize that you can't do that forever. And that takes me back to like something I wanted to bring up just like food for thought for everybody that might be listening today. Is that today, just think about this. You are the youngest you're ever going to be in your life today. Today is the youngest you'll ever be for the rest of your life. So seize the day. Today is your day. I started thinking about this when I found out, like, I went to that doctor and I had to, they're like, oh, you got to do the surgery, whatever. And I'm like, geez, that's not good. And because I don't even know if I like running. I like the running is so different than any other sport I've done. And it's a means to an end. I get to eat more. I get to be a part of the lizards. I get to go to Walt Disney World. I get to see my friends. I always say the races are like a big family reunion. I get to see everybody that I love. They're my second family. That's the good part about running. I don't know if I like the running itself, but I've grown to love the running though. I really have. And there's a few reasons. One is that every other sport I've done, except for speed skating, is that like hockey, baseball, all these other sports, it's always like me against them. It's like when I'm pitching, when I was in high school and playing Legion ball and everything, it's like, I want to beat that guy so bad. And I play basketball. I want to beat that guy so bad. And hockey, it was always me against that person. But running is me against me. It was always me. I've learned that every morning when I get on the treadmill, it's just me in the storage room. Like I only run on the treadmill. Like it's unseen. Like nobody sees it. It's just me against me. There's nobody, there's no coach, there's no other people. It's just me against me. And it wires you differently. I think it makes you tougher for everything in your life other than anything. I just think it gives you discipline to get up every morning and say, it's me against me. How can I make myself better today? Or how can I just keep today? How can I keep myself consistent? I like that. I've learned lessons that way. Like it hurts for the first mile, but it'll smooth out after the first mile. The first mile is going to stink, but then we're going to get through this. And as we watch the Olympics, I think it's important to think about, there's all these elite athletes you're going to see that are going to get to the gold, the silver, the bronze, but celebrate and think about the folks who are going to come in seventh place, ninth place, and the folks that you're going to see that they don't get the screen time. They're just going to be like the passing, almost like the what do they call them? Like in video games, the non-character players or whatever. They're just kind of the background people, but they have worked their tails off for years in small towns in little back parts of Norway or Finland or Austria or Wisconsin or some little town in Utah or some small town in Canada. And they're the pride of that town. I mean, that whole town is like so proud that they got to go to the Olympics, someplace in Florida, someplace in South America or Haiti. I mean, it's amazing. But here's the thing. When you get to go to run Disney or you run a race like that, even if it doesn't have to be run Disney. It could be a rock and roll race in Nashville or Philadelphia or your local. Like I live in a little town called Cottleville. There's a Cottleville 5K. There's a Taco the Town coming up in May. I'm scaling my goals back again because after the surgery, I'm gonna have to be realistic. I'm hoping in May to run this Taco the Town 5K. I'm not looking at a dopey right away. I'm looking to run a 5K again at a decent pace. That's my goal, is to run this 5K in May at a decent pace. After, I got to run a PR, but you got to have realistic goals again. And then I'll build up hopefully to dopey again in January. But again, today you're the youngest you'll ever be. So today's your day. Seize the day. Go after it. Get after it. So when I found out that I had to have the surgery, I told myself I did this in my head, and I didn't tell it to Pam. I didn't tell anybody, but I said, I made a goal for myself. And I said, you know what? I am going to chase a PR at marathon weekend. I don't know if I'm going to get it because I'm old. Because I'm also the oldest I've ever been. I'm the youngest I'll ever be, but I'm the oldest I've ever been. Am I going to be able to beat what I did back when my first marathon when I was 40? Because I ran my first marathon at 40. Am I going to beat any of those other ones? Because I've done 11 before. I've done 10 before this one. I don't know. But I put in that work from October. I worked a little bit harder from October through January, and it paid off. And I don't know. I just think you might still have more in the tank than you think. And most of you guys are younger than me. So that's your advantage. But I just want to say, because I mean, Mike in the Midwest it's stories about, my growing up, but I've seen things, and I just also want to share things from the heart because I think we're all in this together. I know we're all in this together. I don't think we're all in this. We are all in this together. And this is the kind of thing I would like somebody to tell me that, again, today is your day, and you can, whatever it is, a project, it's not running. Running is like it's a metaphor for life, but get after it. Like, you can do it. You got to take the first step. You got to just keep the consistency, and you can do it, because I just needed like that. That gave me a kick in the butt. It's a negative thing, but it was a kick in the butt to say it's now or never. Go after it. And it was a good feeling, because I mean, did it hurt when I was out at Disneyland for those 13 miles? Oh, dude, I'm still not recovered from that. I ran so hard that I am still sore a week later. I am wiped, and my body, like I'm like tired still. I still don't feel right. I posted on that post. I gave every ounce I had. I did, because I went out at a sprint pace. For me, like 8 something is a sprint pace, and I just sprinted for the whole dang 13 miles. That's all I had. That is all I had. And then there was a hill at the end of the race at mile 12. Like, what? It was a blind hill. We were on a corner, and there it was. Oh my God. Who put that out there? And I just said, you know what? This hill is going to either kill me or we're going to get through this thing. One of the two. Like, it was the craziest thing. But You got to live life. You got to live life and give it a shot. So I love you guys. And like I said, you guys are like my second family. And I just want you, when I crossed that finish line at Disneyland, I looked up the clock and it said 151, and my best time was 156 ever. It just made me happy because, like, old man actually made it happen. And I'm not trying to boast or anything. I'm just saying, like, it for all of us, you can do it. Could I have crashed and burned? It was likely probably going to happen. It was just the weather was good that day. That I had those cheater shoes on. They hurt my feet, but they were fast. A lot of things happened well, but you just never know. Like, you got to leave it all out there. Lindsey Vaughn, she's leaving it out there. Major props, but just don't leave the what ifs. I think the what ifs will kill you. Give it a shot. And I'm right there with you. But I appreciate you guys so much. Hope maybe today will get you at least thinking, because that's what my grandpa would tell me to do. That's what my dad would tell me to do. That's what a friend would tell you to do. I think just think about it, because we're all friends here. And that's kind of what the goal of this is. All right. Just give me some thoughts. Am I too much? I'm not trying to be boastful. I'm not trying to be too much here. Just trying to be a friend. And I want us to all live our best life and to never sell ourselves short, because you guys are amazing. You guys are, and we all are together. All right. So until next week, I'll see you on the big show. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you real soon.